US BBC Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turness have both resigned after a firestorm over a Panorama documentary about President Donald Trump. But at the very center of this controversy lies one edited clip that has virtually changed the entire meaning of Trump's words. That's correct. And now the BBC is under intense pressure to explain. First up, let's break down what happened and what it means in 6 key questions and answers, of course. Now, first up, why did the BBC bosses quit? Well, they quit from the fallout from a Trump documentary edited. A leaked memo accused Panorama of misleading editing, sparking public outrage and political calls for resignations. Now, next up, what was the key allegation made against BBC? Well, the Panorama spliced Trump's speech clips. Now, the edit viewers, it combined separate moments to make it seem like Trump had, in fact, directly urged the Capitol violence. On to the third big question now. What did this edit imply? Well, it implied that Trump himself encouraged the Capitol Hill riots. Meanwhile, critics say that's a serious breach of trust for a publicly funded broadcaster. But you may ask, how did the BBC leaders respond to these accusations? They said mistakes were made, both of them have resigned, while Director General Davie took ultimate responsibility. Head of News Turness says, the buck stops with me. Now is the BBC accused of bias? Well, both the leaders who've in fact resigned have denied any institutional bias claims. They've further admitted human error, not political agenda, though the damage to the reputation is very real. That brings us to our last question, and the most pivotal question being asked the world around. What's next, in fact, for the BBC? A charter review and leadership uncertainty lies ahead. Now, the government's review could very well reshape funding and even independence. This comes just as the BBC faces one of its biggest tests in decades. So, viewers, we have 2 resignations, 1 scandal, and a trust storm that's just blowing all out now. The BBC, meanwhile, it's still insisting it will restore transparency and both accuracy. However, questions still remain about editorial integrity and also political influence. And with the new leader yet to be named, one of the world's most recognized broadcasters now faces a defining, or some might say a disrupting moment in its history. My colleague Priyanka Deo gets you more.
Shame on the BBC. I mean, the BBC is a disgrace, and this isn't honestly the first time. Shame on BBC is the reaction that many are expressing today around the world after the BBC admitted to selectively editing a president's January 6th remarks, stitching together lines that are spoken nearly an hour apart and cutting his call to act peacefully and patriotically. The edit changed not only the tone, but also the timeline and ultimately the viewer's understanding of what the president was saying. And as a result, 2 senior BBC executives have now resigned. But for many around the world, especially in India, this feels familiar from the BBC. It's nothing new. During the CAA protests, the Delhi riots, as well as the farmer protests, critics accused the BBC, the Indian government accused the BBC of leading into one narrative, ignoring nuances and presenting emotionally charged stories without full context and spread disinformation. Not don't report, but report fairly. And that's the heart of this moment as well. Whether in Washington, D.C. or in New Delhi, the public is asking the same question. Can powerful media institutions and public broadcasters like the BBC hold others accountable without abandoning accountability themselves? Democracies honestly need a free press. Absolutely, but freedom comes with responsibility, and the BBC has failed that. It's failed the people, it's failed countries, it's failed the world. When broadcasters curate reality instead of presenting it, trust absolutely collapses. The world isn't asking the BBC to be pro-government or pro-opposition, just pro-truth, right? Fearless and fair, both. It's not that hard. Anything less damages journalism altogether. And honestly, the people deserve better. The world deserves better. Shame on BBC.